very excited to introduce our today's speaker, Ms. Radhika Shah. So she is she is a young entrepreneur. At the very young age, she entered into the property game. She has got experience in like she's working in sales, but she's also working as a property entrepreneur. So she is managing this both side by side. So very interested to know how she manages that. She is I've seen her doing various property strategies like buy to let, HMOs, raising finance. So it will be really nice to learn from her at very young age how she has achieved what she has achieved, and like learn from her experiences. So very happy to present you, Radhika, and the stage is yours.
Perfect. Thank you so much for the introduction. Yeah, my name's Radhika. I'm 27, and yeah, like 𝐿 mentioned, I started my property journey at 23. So just to kickstart things, can I control the screen, please? Yeah, perfect. So just to kickstart things, so just a little bit about me. So I'm currently 27, so I've been in property for 4 years, which sounds a bit crazy now because every year I'm like, oh, it's only been 2 years, 3 years, and now it's 4 years, which sounds crazy. I currently work in SaaS sales, so I've literally just moved roles a couple of months ago. I was working crazy hours at my last job. This one seems a little bit more less crazy, but I guess I'm still at the start, so we will see. I started property at 23, like I mentioned. So I was just scrolling through Instagram. I literally just landed my first ever corporate job, and I was just scrolling through Instagram, and one of my friends posted like a property seminar. So I just said, oh, what is that? And then he told me a little bit more about it. He told me to read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then just slowly started to come into property and learning a little bit more about it. I attended my first networking event, but I was so scared I didn't actually end up going. But then they send you like an automated link saying, hey, we didn't see you come, we'll give you another chance. It is a little bit daunting. And I dragged my boyfriend at the time then to come with me, and I hated the experience. I honestly hated it. It was a room full of, no offense, but it was a room full of old men, all in property, and I just felt so out of my comfort zone. I also had one of the staff members coming up to me and saying, why do you not have business cards? Why are you here? You need to know your why, and all of these things. And I was like, hang on, I've literally just stumbled into this. I've already come out of my comfort zone. I don't know. I'm just kind of here to kind of get a feel for what this was, and honestly hated it. And then for a couple of weeks, I didn't attend any networking events. I thought it wasn't for me, but I was quite fortunate because 2 of my aunties are also into property, and they were looking at property, so it kind of kick-started things again for me. So I ended up going back to networking meetings and connecting with a few people. So yeah, I had my first purchase later that year, which was a sourced property, and I'll go into that a little bit later. Like 𝐿 mentioned, my strategies starting out were HMOs. I started off doing a mini-mo, so it was a 3-bed shared house, and then went into a 6-bed, then did another 3-bed HMO, then went into a 6-bed HMO, and then we diversified and went into the buy-to-lets, but I'll come on to that a little bit later. For those who follow me on Instagram, you guys know I love traveling. Like, it is a huge part of my life, and so is health and fitness. These are the things that I was trying to portray, is that you can still focus on the things whilst you're working full time, whilst you're building your businesses. It's so important to have these like outside goals of what you love to do, and whether that's like spending time with your family, traveling, health and fitness, because these are the reasons why, you know, what your why is going to be and what you actually want to do with your time. It can't just be about business and work all the time, because you will go crazy like I did. So I'm glad like now I've got to the point where I'm just incorporating these things and trying to balance life a little bit more with it. Being Asian, I have a huge family. I love spending time with my family. During the pandemic, I'm still living at home. During the pandemic, it was like quite nice to actually spend a lot of time with my family and not have to like rush off to a network meeting or go and view a property or spend weekends away like trying to find properties and things like that. So it was actually quite nice to have that, and trying to implement it a little bit more now, now that I'm back to being busy. And I've also been featured in a couple of magazines, which have been huge successes for me. As women, like, we tend to not put ourselves forward out there, and it's crazy because when I talk to other women, and we're like, everything is about men, like, you know, if they're doing PR or if they're trying to get in front of people, a lot of it is their self-marketing, but for some reason there's like a barrier for women to kind of say, you know, these are the successes. Like, if someone had a £2 million portfolio, a guy would be raving on about that, be like, yeah, I've got £2 million property portfolio. But as females, we're like, oh yeah, we have a few houses, but we're shy enough to say like, oh, it's only worth like 2 million. It's not like a big achievement. So there's such a huge shift, mindset shift between like men and female, which is what I found. So I was trying to just put myself out there as much as I can and kind of not listen to what other people were doing, and just trying to put myself out there as much as I can, and then ended up getting featured in these magazines, which has been amazing for me ever since. How many of you guys are working full-time and getting into property? I guess that's everyone. So I work in sales, which is definitely not a 9 to 5. I used to work horrendous hours. There were some times where I was working from like 8 a.m. to like 11 p.m. with a couple of hours off in between. There was really no time to like fit everything in. I don't know what's happening with the slides here, but the things that I've learned, like, here's like 10 things that I've learned whilst working full time, because time management is going to be so key for everyone trying to get into it. So for me, it was when I started, and you would go to these like big networking events, it's like, oh, you'll get like, I don't know, you'll be financially free, you'll earn like £50,000 of income from property in 1 year. And those people can do that, don't get me wrong, people can do that, but you have to have time and you have to have money to even get into that position. For people like us working full times, it is still possible, but if you're very new to property, there's so many learnings in that first purchase that I didn't even know I was going to have. That first purchase, I didn't even know you had to instruct a broker. I've never spoken to a solicitor in my life. I didn't know what the actual structure was. So just being in that first purchase, I took a step back and said, I'm not looking at any other properties. I just want to focus on this one and just learn through it. There's so much to refurbs, managing people. There's just so much in it that you need to be in it 100%. And if you are working full time, you won't be able to give everything 100%. So especially if you're doing 2 or 3 purchases at the start, it does get a little bit difficult. So if I was going back, I would just focus on that one purchase at a time. The second point is highly recommend you prioritize what you're doing. Like I mentioned, like travel, fitness and things like that, like those are my priorities, but I know when I can do it and when I can't do it. Same with my social life. Like, I'm a massive extrovert, I'm a social butterfly. If you see my Instagram, like, you'll know I'm out all the time, but I had to make sacrifices. Like, you need to like figure out what's important, and also like having your priorities is, yes, doing property, but also going to see your friends, going to see your family, traveling, going to the gym, or whatever you like to do, is like, make sure you're prioritizing kind of those things that are important, as well as the business element to it. I know this sounds crazy, but when I was working, I felt like I had no time whatsoever, especially my commute was about 1.5 hours each way. I was like, what can I actually do in that time? And that's when I started to read, listen to podcasts. I was even sitting there with my laptop writing out landlord letters on the tube. Like, it was crazy. Like, you just find like extra time anywhere, but if you can find an extra 30 to 60 minutes a day, it will massively help you trying to get to your property goals within that, whatever stage you are at. And if that means like waking up half an hour early, or like using your lunchtime, or like setting half an hour aside before bed, yeah, highly recommend that, because that 30 to 60 minutes is going to go such a long way. Focus on your health and fitness, which is huge for me. I I know this sounds really weird, but like you just know when you feel fat, you know you're not fat, but like you just feel really, really fat and disgusting, and you don't even know why you're doing that. But I definitely, like, I stopped going to the gym, I stopped going for walks, I stopped eating healthy. I got very busy. That allowed me not to eat healthy because I was just getting like takeaways or ready meals and stuff like that that weren't really doing good. But what I realized is that I need to focus on my health and fitness, because if my mind and my body are healthy, then I can be the best self that I am when it comes to like property, and have the energy to do it. Because having a full day's worth of work and then having to do your business after that is quite tough, and it's mentally challenging. So yeah. The fifth point is probably why you guys are on this call, is all about networking. As I mentioned, I hated networking at the start, but you just kind of got to get over it. Once you do it a couple of times, like go with a friend, like go with people that you know, find people on Instagram or Facebook saying, hey, I'm going to this event, is anyone going, would love to meet you there, and just try to like build like your own network through that as well, because those are the points where you want to go, but you'll soon realize like which ones that you don't want to go and which ones that you do want to go. And you know, Faria, Kushal and I are all part of another group called the Real Life Tribe, which comes in every Monday. We get together, and there's other things going on, but I particularly use it for the Monday. So I always have like my network around me. And then that's how I grew my Instagram, is just kind of like networking as well. And I've had so many opportunities and things come off the back of it. So yeah, if you can focus on your network, you never know who you're going to meet and who's going to help you. The sixth point is spend time growing your brand. Like your personal brand and your business brand is going to be huge for you. I highly recommend like you start posting your journey on social media, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Like just showcase what you're learning. And what I found is that when I was showcasing what I was learning, I was actually learning even more. So I'd just be like, oh yeah, I need to do a post, but it was actually like, what do I want to learn about? I'd go and do the research for that and then put that into a post. So it was only reinforcing those learnings, but also it was like to help other people, because there's so much crap out there, and there's a lot of marketing like crap out there just to get people on courses, and I don't think that's the right thing to do. But that's why it's kind of like saying, hang on, it's not that easy, you know. That's why I said like focus on one purchase at a time, whereas like another person could be like, oh yeah, I bought 5 properties at the same time. So there's like a lot of discrepancies. So just kind of like be true to yourself and what you believe in when you're growing that brand. The next point is investment is everywhere, but it is really hard to get it, especially when you have connotations like you're a young female. I also got you're a young brown female, like I would never get investment. Like people were saying these things to me. And obviously it knocks your confidence when you're doing it, but you just got to keep chipping at it, you know, just kind of focus on your network and just talk to people that genuinely are curious. The people who like put you down, just like put them in a bucket, whatever they say, just put them in a bucket and just go and speak to people. But it is really hard, but it is out there to raise it. I know people like, oh, ask your friends and family and stuff, but you know, you're asking your friends and family who have, you know, spent 20 years saving for that money, and now you're asking them just to put it in a property when you have no experience. So you got to put yourself in their position. Like they're not going to just give it as easy as these marketing gimmicks say that it's like easy to get investment. Yeah, just kind of like know where they're coming from as well. The 8th point is, as you guys are all working full time, is like delegate as much as you can elsewhere. So like where you're doing the lower tasks, this is what I was delegating. So when me and my 2 aunties came into business together, we were looking at properties. We were going to like Derby, we were going to Birmingham, we were going to Coventry, we're going to like all these different places on the weekend, and it was so much. Like you do all the research of the properties, by the time you get there on a Saturday, like half the viewings are cancelled, half the properties are taken, you know, especially if it's a good investment property, like people just take off the market before we can even get there. So then what we decided to do is work with property sources to help us get those properties and secure them, so we didn't have to spend the time, you know, looking for that. One of the big things that we needed to do was raise investment. You know, I was 23 when I started and barely had any money. I literally just landed my first corporate job. and I needed to find investment. So like when you've got so much to do, like analyze the properties, you know, you've got to find the properties in the first place, do all the numbers, as well as raise investments. It does get a little bit harder. So what I did was try to find people with who were property sources to try and work with. That in itself is a separate business because you do have to qualify them, but once you work with the right people, it's so much easier to get those. Join a property group. Like I mentioned, we're all part of a property group. There's so many out there, but it's just an easy way to like network with people who are in the same boat. Property is hard and it is lonely, but you never know what you're going to learn. Like sharing accountability with people and knowing what their goals are just massively helps you and pushes you to the next level. And sometimes you need someone to kick you up the arse to just try and push you to the next level, because it's so easy to stay in your comfort zone. And the last point is age is just a number. Whatever age you are, whatever you're getting into property, like it's just a number. There's people who are 18, you know, having 10 buy-to-lets by the time they're 18, you know, or the split size people who are like in their 60s getting property. So age is just a number. Like, don't listen to what people say, unless you're trying to have a business, then you actually need to be 18. But yeah, for the rest of it, like it doesn't matter what age you come into property, it's doable for everyone. My journey into property, I think I've like covered some of these points, so apologies for that. But like I mentioned about my networking, so I probably won't go into that one. Finding your own properties, kind of just delve into that. The next point is losing deals. Like we're working with a property sourcer that we knew as part of the same group, and we really like had a really good relationship with them, went to go see their properties, etc. We had about 6 deals that fell through, and we put money aside to them, whether it was planning. But these are little things that you don't know. So for example, in like Peterborough, it's very difficult to get sui generis, so 7 or beds or more in 7 or bed HMO without parking. It's literally impossible. Like no one's done it. Had I'd asked the question before, we would have saved like a few £1,000s instead of going to planning permission. We were coming up with all these like crazy different creative ways to get it, but we ended up losing out on like 6 deals. 2 were going through planning, others were just taking its time, etc. But you're still paying for like your architects, you're still paying for your broker's time, etc. to get, you know, the finance in place and things like that. So, you know, property is a journey, and you are going to probably lose more deals than you are going to gain deals. So dealing with that rejection and just knowing that there are going to be properties for you. But I think properties is like sales. Like I know I'm not going to get 100% sales. You know, my closing, you know, what your closing ratio is, you know, probably between like 20 and 40%. So you know you're going to fail most of the time. So it's just how do you get over that rejection and knowing that you can't get emotionally attached to that. Reach out to people. Like this is a great network here already. Like there's so many people here you can connect with. Like reach out to people, ask them questions, like especially people in your area or the specific strategy. Just reach out to them saying, hey, can I have 2 minutes? Be polite about it, because if you see some of the messages that I get, like people can't even say hello, people can't even spell my name right. They ask me what strategy I'm doing, yet it says it in my bio. So just like reach out to people, but just be conscious of like how you reach out to them. But there's so many people out there who you can network with, and it ties into like when I say growing your brand. So like because I was growing my brand on Instagram, I could easily reach out to people because they knew I was serious in property. They see my face, they'd seen my content, they knew I was buying property, they knew I was a serious person, and I wanted them to look at my profile and say, yes, I definitely want to connect with that person. I hate looking at blank profiles. You know, they've only got one post and they reach out to me saying, hey, can I schedule in half an hour with you? Like, I'm not going to do that, because what is that person going to add? I don't know what that person's going to add, but it makes it less desirable than someone who is actively going out, purchasing and trying to grow their brand. I'm more likely to like spend more time with them. And I get it on the flip side. Like people won't, like if I ask for someone for half an hour, I've had people saying, oh yeah, I'll charge you £200 for half an hour. So just be conscious of that. But like, yeah, reach out to people. There's so many people out there to help you. You just got to find those people that are willing to help you. So moving on to my deal. So this is my first HMO. I hate how ugly it looks. I never ever wanted to share any pictures of it because I hate how ugly it looks. But it fits the market and it fits the numbers. So I'm super happy with that. I have since changed my mindset about how ugly this property is, and it's making me a lot of money. So this was in Burnley, or is in Burnley. It was £39,999. Yes, there are properties that cheap, or there were properties that cheap. So this I bought 4 years ago, so 2018. I didn't have to pay stamp duty on it because it was less than £40,000, but it also meant that I couldn't get a mortgage on it. So everything had to be cash. I also had a £20,000 council loan. So it's part of a scheme called Empty Homes Loan, which helped renovate this property. So essentially the council gave me £20,000 to renovate this. I do have to pay it off monthly, but it's something worth looking down in, especially like run down towns where there are like a lot of boarded houses. The councils are trying to kind of make sure that every single home is used for and fit for purpose. So they're incentivizing landlords to try and renovate these properties, get them up to standard, and make them rentable. And it worked really well with this. I'm getting on gross, I'm getting over just a little over £1,000 a month. So on profit wise, it's about, depending on energy bills at the moment, because it's very varied, but like I think the last like couple of months have been between like £400 and £500 pure profit on this minus tax. So yeah, really good deal for my first property. I have there was one thing that I couldn't do on this, was refinance the property, because I didn't have 12 months of experience, which no one told me about. So I had to wait about 12 months, a little over 12 months of landlord experience. So this took about 6 months to renovate. So it started renting out, so completed in October, started renting out in March, but I had to wait the following March to even apply for refinancing. So that's just something to bear in mind. Speak to a mortgage broker about, you know, the likelihood of you refinancing it, but because this was a HMO, yeah, they weren't going to give me the refinance on that. But it's since done, it's done really well, and yeah, I'm really happy with that purchase. The next one, we did another mini mo as well. I just don't have the pictures for it, but it's basically the same thing, rinse and repeat on that same model there. Then we went into this 6-bed property. So after losing those 6 purchases in Peterborough, we ended up landing on this one. I'm not sure why the pictures are a bit blurred, but yeah, it was a 3-bed that we bought for 180,000. We spent about 107,000 renovating it. So as you can see, like we literally stripped the whole property. We did an extension at the back. We put in 5 ensuite. We made 5 studios, and then the last one we couldn't get a studio. So this one here on the bottom left, it didn't fit in with the numbers, so we just kept it as an ensuite. But yeah, so we did that. That took about 9 months, and then we've just refinanced it as well. So yeah, super happy with that one. At the moment, this property is doing my head in because of the energy bills. When you've got 6 people paying, like using electricity, using the having TVs, you know, having their own like mini kitchen into their rooms, it does get a little bit expensive. So we're just trying to work with our energy provider to see if there's anything that we can do. But yeah, we've had a couple of high bills, so not sure what the entire profit is at the moment, just because of the energy bills, like very fluctuating at the moment. And then we decided we couldn't deal with the hassle of these HMOs, trying to constantly get tenants, you know, making sure that everyone's paying. You get a lump sum here, you get a lump sum there. Like it does get very hard to manage, and it felt like I was becoming an admin person for this my portfolio, and it was just too much for me to handle. So I've got systems in place to like making sure that, you know, people are paying rent, etc. And getting that, but I couldn't deal with the headache of another HMO, to be honest. There's a lot that goes on, there's a lot of research, there's a lot of refurb stuff to go into it as well. So we decided that we were going to go and switch and go into buy to let. So this was the finished picture. I don't know why the pictures are a bit dull, but we had this like spacious like 3-bed buy to let, which is amazing, in Newcastle. It was worth £80,000. And we had we spent about £10,000, just under £10,000 renovating it. And then we had a person move in literally whilst it was renovating, and he signed a contract for 12 months. So it was like a very easy purchase. When I spoke to my broker, and he said, yeah, you don't need to wait 6 months to refinance. So we refinanced within, I think, 4 months. And that was just awkwardly bumping into him at a property event. So he just asked me, how's this property going? Like, what are your plans? When are you refinancing it? I was like, I was waiting for 6 months to refinance it. And he goes, oh no, you can look into the refinance now. So yeah, so if I didn't actually bump into him and ask him the question, I would have waited another couple of months to refinance. But yeah, this is super easy. Like, haven't really had any problems with it. Tenants been paying, and this is one property that I probably don't have to deal with compared to the HMOs from it. So yeah, so those are my purchases. Did I put, sorry, did I put the other slide about the women in, oh, I think I missed this whole slide, but I can go back to that at the end. No, I'm going to go to it now, sorry. Basically, one of the reasons I was invited to this is because I've been focusing on women in property. Like, I don't know why there is a discrepancy. And to be honest, ever since I've been like on social media and building social media, I've connected with a lot more women, and I can empathize with a lot more women because we have to go through the same rubbish sometimes. And it's really hard, especially like when you're raising finance. Like, I had people telling me like, I'm a female, I'm 23, I'm brown, like I would never be able to raise finance, like people would never ever trust you. And I was confused to why people were saying these. But then when I was looking back, and it was like, why can a man say that? But then if I speak to women, they're just empowering me to be like, yeah, there's money, you know, everywhere. Like, people are, you know, going to help you, just going to find those people. So I was getting mixed messages, not from every single man, by the way, just a few people. But those comments like hit you, they hit you personally, because it's like someone's like attacking your character and attacking who you are when you've got no control of, I have no control of my age, I have no control of, you know, what I look like, or that I'm a female. Like so yeah, I was getting really like down off that. A lot of times I wasn't taken seriously going into estate agents, you know, they're just like, who are you, you know, they're like, I've had people like, oh, come in with your husband. Oh, I've had people like, oh, did a man buy that for you? Like, it's crazy. Like, you don't even think these things even happen, and they happen on a very small occasion, but when they do happen, like, it is tough to deal with. But I was quite fortunate because networking, like, and reaching out to people, there's so many women out there that you can reach out to. There's a lot of pages that are empowering women. In that, I started like interviewing women. When I listen to podcasts, and you know, even like most networkings, like, only men put themselves forward. Like, women don't necessarily put themselves forward, but I feel like it's our duty to put ourselves forward out there. So yeah, so reach out to as many people as you can. There's a lot of females that are willing to help as well, and it's a lot more relatable as well, especially like if you are finding it difficult or not like people taking you seriously. But yeah, and then I'm going, because I always get asked these questions, is how to grow on social media. So one is consistency. You have to be posting. If you don't post, you're never going to get anywhere. And the one thing when I say posting is show your face. Like, like, for me, I want people to know who I am. If they walk with me like at a networking event, I want them to be like, oh, I know who you are. That's kind of what my take was there. And then people take me seriously. You know, if I'm looking for investment, they know there's a face to the name. Or if I'm looking for properties, like, they're more likely to trust me and things like that. So just being consistent and showing your face consistently does push a massive what's the word, like, it does help you massively. The other thing, like I mentioned, is like, share what you've learned. Like, you're going through this journey, there's so much that you're learning. Like when we were on the mastermind the other day, and it was like talking about probate property, I was like, that's such a good point. Like, more people should know about this. So you can learn from different people. Like, you know, if you're jumping on a mastermind or watching a network meeting and stuff like that, like, you can share what you've learned, like things that you didn't know, like, and you can build like your social media on helping people on like things that you've learned, and that those are only reinforcing it. And it's just a nice way to like consolidate something as well, because it's so nice and easy to like watch like a 30-second clip or like read a bit of text about a specific post as well. Like I mentioned, like I was trying to focus on a women in property series. If you have like a niche that you want to help people in, so like so for example, like doing HMOs or doing buy-to-lets or like commercial or women in property, or like, I don't know, like young people in property, like there's so many different angles that you can come in at, but just try and kind of like stick to one and just like trying to promote one. Diversification, you guys know I post about everything and anything at the moment, but I just think it's a nice touch when you see people that actually have a life outside of property. You know, it just makes them human. Like, they, you know, we shouldn't be hiding from the fact that like going out and socializing or going to the gym, like those aren't things that you should feel bad about, because that is your life and it just makes you human. Like, you want to connect with people. You can't just sit here behind a screen and like analyze spreadsheets or look at Rightmove 24/7. Like, you also need to have a life as well. Reels are by far the biggest thing, and if you can jump on TikTok, I know loads of people that have grown off TikTok as well, but share what you've learned through reels. Like, it's so easy to film like a 30-second reel than it is to type out a whole post. So yeah, jump on those reels, share what you've learned. There's so many different reels that you can get into. That's probably like another 45 minutes for another time, but yeah, jump on those reels and just share what you've learned. Share your properties that you're going, go around your viewings, what you've done in a day. Like, it's so relatable when you're working full time, you know, and you're doing property as well. Like, what are the things that you're doing that's helping you that could help someone else? Networking, you know, there's ample of networking opportunities, whether it's online, whether it's in person. There's so many things. You can post about it, you can reach out to people about it, but it's only growing your brand like even more and just connecting with people. Like right now, like I can't remember the last time I went to a network meeting in person or online and people ask for a business card. Like, I don't even know if business cards even exist anymore, because everyone's like, oh, what's your social media, or like, you know, what's your Facebook or something like that. Like, I don't think business cards are a thing anymore, and apologies if you have any, but I feel like the next step is like, to connecting with someone is like, oh, let me give you my phone and like, let's follow each other on social media and see what we're up to. So yeah, that's just my view on it. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. I don't know what we're doing on time wise, I should have checked, but yeah, happy to take any questions.